Let's talk about the antebellum South. It was a world built on a very rigid, very brutal kind of order, an order where everyone had their place. But what happens when that order gets threatened? Not by an army or an uprising, but by something much quieter, a single educated mind. So what happens when the most powerful tool in this world isn't a whip, but a pen? We're going to dive into a story about how the simple act of reading became a dangerous secret and how one man's literacy turned into a weapon that could bring an entire plantation to its knees. All right, so let's set the scene. The year is 1852. We're on the Hightower plantation in South Carolina. The owner, a man named Samuel Hightower, ran this place with absolute mechanical precision. For him, success was all about one thing: perfect order. And right at the center of that order was an enslaved man named Thomas. Now, Thomas lived in a really strange, contradictory world. See, he was Hightower's confidential secretary, the only enslaved person on the entire plantation who could read and write. This forbidden skill got him certain privileges, better food, protection from the whip. But it came at a huge cost: total isolation. To the other enslaved people, he was basically the master's tool, maybe even a spy. He was caught between two worlds, but he didn't belong to either one. Every single day, Thomas's job was to sort his master's mail. He became the silent keeper of every business deal, every family secret. He was this invisible man sitting right at the center of all this power. And then one September morning, a totally unremarkable envelope shows up from Charleston. But inside that envelope was a piece of paper that was about to shatter the plantation's perfect order forever. The letter was from a woman named Catherine Hayes. And what it revealed was that Samuel Hightower, this man of impeccable public standing, had a 17-year-old son he'd never acknowledged. Now, you have to understand, in the honor-obsessed South, a secret like this wasn't just scandalous, it was social dynamite. And Thomas was now standing right next to the fuse. So Thomas has a choice to make. The smart move, the safe move, would have been to just deliver the letter and pretend he never saw a thing. But that's not what he did. Instead, he did something that would change his life forever. He meticulously copied the entire letter, word for word, hid that copy in an old ledger, and then he delivered the original. At that moment, he wasn't just keeping secrets anymore, he was building an arsenal. With that one single act, Thomas went from being a pawn in this game to a major player. He was now making a calculated gamble, and over the next few months, you're going to see the stakes just get higher and higher. You can just feel the pressure building, right? Catherine Hayes's polite requests slowly turn into these veiled threats about her son, Jonathan, maybe paying a visit. Hightower's response? He has the boy physically turned away at the gate. By January, the gloves are completely off. A law firm gets involved, and now they're threatening to expose everything publicly. This isn't a private family matter anymore, it's straight-up legal blackmail. Hightower is furious. He is not a man who gets blackmailed. So he decides to fight back. And what does he do? He arms his most confidential weapon, Thomas, with a sealed letter and sends him straight to Charleston. The mission was not to negotiate. It was to deliver a threat. The message was simple: back down or you will be destroyed. But Thomas had his own agenda. After he delivers his master's threat, he takes this incredible risk. He arranges a secret meeting with Catherine Hayes, something he was absolutely forbidden from doing. And in that meeting, he proposes a financial settlement, a compromise his master had never, ever authorized. In that moment, he stops being a messenger, he becomes a master manipulator, playing this incredibly dangerous game between two very powerful forces. And you know what? Thomas's gamble actually works. A settlement is reached, the crisis seems to be over. But for Samuel Hightower, this chilling realization starts to set in. His confidential secretary, the man who knows literally all of his secrets, is no longer a trusted tool. He's a liability. And that unique, strange bond between them was just broken forever. And that broken trust? Well, it pushes this story towards its violent and deadly climax. Hightower now sees Thomas not as an asset, but as a threat that needs to be eliminated. He decides he's going to erase the past, no matter what it costs. Thomas can sense the danger. He knows what's coming. So he makes one last incredibly audacious move. On his final trip to Charleston for his master, he walks into the courthouse and he files a copy of that settlement agreement into the public record. It's just a piece of paper that would be totally invisible to anyone who wasn't specifically looking for it. It was his ultimate insurance policy, a time bomb, just waiting to be detonated. And then it happens. On a hot July night, a fire breaks out on the plantation. A storage building goes up in flames, and the whole estate is thrown into chaos. In the aftermath, it's officially ruled as just a tragic accident. But when the smoke finally clears, the plantation's overseer, a man named Garrett, is found dead in the ruins. So, was it really an accident? Or was he maybe a loose end that needed to be tied up? A few days later, Thomas is told to inventory the office records, and that's when he finds it. The locked drawer where the original letters from Catherine Hayes were kept is now empty. In that chilling moment, everything clicks into place. The fire wasn't an accident, it was a purge. Garrett was silenced, and the evidence was destroyed. Hightower thinks he's safe now, but he's wrong. He has no idea about Thomas's hidden archive, the only proof that still exists. Now, having the truth and actually using it are two very different things. Thomas knows that revealing the secret is going to come at an enormous cost, and not just for his master, but for pretty much everyone involved. So he waits for the right moment. With Hightower away on business, Thomas unleashes his weapon. He sends his entire secret archive of copied letters to the lawyers in Charleston, and he includes a note detailing his suspicions about the fire. The second that package is sent, there is no turning back. An official investigation kicks off, and all the secrets of the Hightower plantation are about to be blown wide open. When Hightower returns, it's explosive. He confronts Thomas, and he delivers the single most terrifying threat an enslaved person could hear: being sold south. And let me be clear, this wasn't just a threat of being sold to a new owner. This was a promise of a slow, brutal death in the sugar and cotton fields of the Deep South. It was a one-way ticket to a living hell. But Thomas's insurance policy, that little piece of paper in the courthouse, it pays off. The public record of the settlement becomes the key that unlocks the whole story, and it just explodes into a massive public scandal. Now, murder can't be proven in court, but public opinion absolutely destroys Hightower. He loses his reputation, his wealth, his plantation, everything. And Thomas? His story captures the attention of Northern abolitionists, and they actually purchase his freedom. The very knowledge that had been his burden ends up being his liberation. But here's the thing, this wasn't some clean victory. The scandal that destroyed Hightower also devastated other people. Catherine Hayes and her son Jonathan were publicly shamed, ostracized. The very truth that Thomas used to get his freedom ended up ruining their future. It's just a powerful reminder that in a system this broken, one person's survival often has to come at someone else's expense. And this leaves us with the story's central, really haunting question, which is best captured in Thomas's own words years later. He used his master's secrets to win his own freedom, to achieve the impossible. But was it justice? Or was it just survival? And in a system so profoundly, fundamentally broken, can there ever really be a difference between the two?